welcome to the brand new episode of the Asian A.V Club What to Watch podcast, where we take a look at some of the most new movies and TV shows that are out at the moment that should be on your radar, or maybe not, if my guest has something to do with it. Because here's some context. Just a few years back, I used to be on another weekly podcast that also looked at new movies and TV shows on a weekly basis called the Sky News Backstage podcast. And every week, I was part of this wonderful trio of opinions with two other hosts, and it always felt like one person in particular would be more than happy to counter my thoughts. And I've obviously missed her dearly because I've begged her to come on this show to kind of give her opinions on certain things. And it's basically the amazing, I was gonna say iconic.
Iconic. I'd love to be iconic.
I'm gonna make you iconic. Katie Spencer to join me this week. Woo! To put her opinionated stamp on this pod. Now, for those of you who watch the news, there is a small little indie network in the UK called Sky News. It's just watched by 4 million people on TV and on online whenever you get your news daily. And Katie's is basically, if it has anything to do with entertainment, Katie's the face. She's the main face. Yeah. She's the only face that matters. Covering the latest award ceremonies, celebrity scandals.
There's so many scandals. It's always
so
the
many scandals. It is a scandal, and you're always there, standing in front, dealing with the scandals, and with the biggest stars on the planet. And you know, she's the big cheese of British entertainment news. And she's coming.
MasterChef this week. There's loads of MasterChef scandal around in the UK.
I know.
MasterChef export over to New York and Asia, and probably not. You've all got your own versions, haven't you?
We have our own versions, but basically, like I've seen like little in my feed, it kind of shows up, and I'm just like, I'll move on. Is it a racism scandal or is it a sexist scandal? Like, what are we dealing with this time?
It basically seems to be a sort of, depending on what side of the argument you're coming from, if you're on the sort of, it's just a bit of lad bands, it's working class men having opinions and making jokes. You can't say anything these days, can you? So that's the sort of Greg Wallace side of, but turns out Greg Wallace, one of the presenters, actually even got naked in front of people. So it's not just like, using dodgy language in front of people. No, he got his junk out. So there's been a report into that, but it has spiraled now into John Turode, who was the one that everyone thought was a bit nicer and Australian. He's now been dragged into it. He completely, absolutely denies this incident that has been upheld by this legal firm that's been doing a report into it, which claims that he used racist language. He says he's got no recollection of it. They can't even tell him what year it happened in, which does seem a bit unfair if they can't even tell you the sort of year and the moment. But it's a complaint that's been upheld, and so the BBC sacked him. So that has been my week, talking about MasterChef a lot. Don't even watch MasterChef.
Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Spencer.
I'm sorry. Shall I get my coat?
Wow. See, this is what I miss, because it really was like every week I'd come on and be like, what's going on in the UK now? And then you always had a wonderful scandal to talk about. I know, and what I always cracked up was like around the summertime, you guys were always like, Stevie, you should come to UK. We should go to Glastonbury together. And I'm like, that sounds like hell to me. It's hot. It's muddy. It's horrible. And then this year you guys went and you probably thought, oh, cool, we get to go to Glastonbury, listen to music and stuff like that. And look what happens. Scandal over there too. And so basically,
worst Glastonbury ever.
Yeah.
I was about to enjoy myself. I'd done all of my other work, all of my other stories. And then on a Saturday afternoon, this punk band come on stage and then do these death chants towards Israeli soldiers, and they're like, well, fine, what's the point in coming to Glastonbury then? I'll just listen to no music and I'll just talk about these idiots for the rest of the weekend, shall I?
Well, there you go. Good times.
That's my life. But one day I'm going to get you to Glastonbury. One day I'm going to put a bag over your head and kidnap you, put you in the back of a van and get you to Muddy Field, and you will enjoy it.
Just get me on the VVIP like air content section of Glastonbury, then I will be more than happy to like.
You want the Sir Paul McCartney helicoptered in?
Yeah.
Stand at the side of the stage.
I want that. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's quite expensive, Stevie.
But hopefully you'll have the power as the iconic Spencer.
Okay, when I reach this iconic Mariah Carey status of power, I shall do that.
Luckily, nothing on this pod is going to be, you're not going to say anything of news. Well, maybe the first thing, actually, but
I hope
outside of
not.
that, yeah, it will be
We,
nothing.
we
We're not
don't
going to
have
make the news.
form of using inappropriate language
No.
or
I mean, there's probably
racist terminology. We're the good ones, aren't
there will
we?
be inappropriate language because it's
Oh
the
yeah.
two of us, and then
Should we get that out of the way and have 5 minutes worth of just like effing and
yeah,
chatting?
and just to be one big long like beep of sorts. That'll be great. But we have some movies and TV stuff to talk about, and I always feel bad because whoever I invite on, they're like, "Oh, this will be nice, a little podcast." That we just and no, I pack homework in
Yeah.
like a yeah, I'm like a drill sergeant about this, and it is, and I feel bad after the fact, but I hope in the process.
Also, Stevie, very
Yeah,
dark this
yeah.
week. There's a lot of murdering going on
There's a
in
lot
this
of there's a lot
week's.
of body count in this week.
Yeah, yeah.
It's you know what it is? It's like so hot that I think maybe that's when I'm just like everybody. It's gonna be a lot of death because like I cannot. Well, okay, let's start off with movies. And we
Mm.
have stuff about we're gonna talk about Superman. We're gonna talk about I know what you did last summer, and but I like to start off with something that I feel people should watch first. And I love documentaries, and so I feel like that was a really good. So I'd love to start off with this new documentary called Life After, which premiered at Sundance and is coming out in this theater, like in selected theaters in the United States. It's kind of topical, so we are going to take this seriously, but like basically it's directed by Reid Davenport, and he himself is disabled, and this doc starts off with a look at what happened to this disabled woman in California named Elizabeth Bouvier back in 1983. She made headlines because she went to the court and wanted them to grant the right to terminate her own life. And in California at the time, it was illegal for assisted euthanasia. And now there's 10 states in the US that allow for assisted suicide as long as the individual is of sound mind and has a terminal diagnosis of 6 months or less to live. And so this director wanted to know what happened because she was denied that access, and he was like, well, let's see what happened to this woman. Maybe she had a great life, and so he kind of started this kind of journey to like find out whatever happened to her, and in the process started to look at assisted suicide like in the United States and in other countries like Canada.
It's a
um
really interesting way of doing it, though, isn't it? Because it's a documentary, but also you've got this theme running through it of the sort of solving the mystery of what happened to this woman and whether she is still alive. It's very well done. He's a very good director. And
he's
definitely
a
sort of
He's so
one to
talented,
watch.
and basically what Reed does is obviously because he himself is disabled, he becomes one of the characters, and we see everything through his perspective. He does this really beautiful thing where he puts a camera like on his wheelchair itself, and so we also see certain things from his point of view in terms of just like how he kind of lives his day, where he's kind of riding through a city like New York. He's in Brooklyn, and it is. I think what it is like you go on watching a movie thinking that you're like, okay, this is a kind of expose about a woman and whatever happened to her, but very quickly, almost like 20 minutes in, the film takes on a whole different perspective, and it kind of starts talking about how disabled people exist in the United States and in most countries, and more importantly, he starts looking into Canada, which now offers you the choice to like have assisted suicide with a very wider kind of
Yeah.
like spectrum of reasons. So in most countries where this exists, it is for people who are terminal and they have to prove that they're terminal and they're of sound mind. And then they if they feel like this is the way they want to end their lives, this is probably the best way to do it. But in some place like Canada, they've changed the law a little bit and they've opened it up to other reasons why. And it's just a slippery slope. And I feel like we don't need to talk about that because I feel like if you watch this doc, it gets bigger and it's fascinating, and it just really opened my mind on like how I see even the topic of assisted suicide, especially for people who are disabled and terminal, and I don't know, what did you think about this
I
whole
guess
thing?
I mean, these are huge conversations, sort of
Yeah.
big emotional conversations that we're having in the UK at the moment, because we've just passed a new bill actually to sort of yeah, change the legislation to make assisted suicide with sort of some caveats of qualifications, so that that is possible in this country. But it's been so such a heated and such an emotional thing to be debating just within news at the moment, that it's been hard to kind of sum up really the two sides of the debate in just like a sort of 5 minute news section that we've been sort of dealing with. So actually to have an hour's worth of a documentary that really gets into it. I mean, this is the side of those with disabilities who very much are against this. So I think it has to be viewed with that perspective. But what it does is it makes you absolutely understand the reality of why they're so concerned, because it is this awful sort of undercurrent that a lot of people with disabilities are made to feel, that they are a financial burden and they don't want to be sort of it gives you an insight into just the awful sort of pressure that they might feel, that it would be easier on a lot of people for them to end their life than to sort of carry on when it can be quite challenging. It's so emotional to watch this. It's there's so many sort of sad stories of people who feel like that is the effect of having this legislation, isn't it?
It is. But I think what even threw me off even more was just like I walked into it thinking like, yeah, this is, I listen, I'm in a very lucky situation where I don't have to think about, these kind of things right now. And so in theory, it's always been like, well, if somebody wants to kind of choose, if they have, then in theory, this is like a wonderful opportunity for them to like make a decision on the choice of how they want to end their lives. And I think that was always like my kind of liberal way of thinking. But I think when I see it through the eyes of somebody who is disabled and there's a really wonderful section where he says, if I didn't have support with my family and my partner and all this, then where would I be in this decision of like what I want to do with my life? And it's really fascinating, and it just this is such a wonderful film because I love it when I think I have an opinion on something and I walk out of it going like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, never thought of it this way. Thank you, and now I think moving forward, this is something that I would like keep in mind if I'm even going to talk about something like this in the future. And it was just such it's such a smart way to do it too, because using, like you said, like this original plot line of finding out what happened to this woman as the kind of like the kind of the outside like thing, and then going deeper, and that's where this is the magic of this film kind of exists, and he is a very wonderful filmmaker in the process.
And that's the brilliance of some of the stories that are told. It's how, and the heartbreak of some of the stories that are told. It's how people's opinions, like we're saying, we watched a documentary and our opinion changed. Imagine if you're sort of convinced one day that no, I should die, and then the next day
Yeah.
your opinion can be changed. I mean, it's an awful sort of final thing that we're sort of giving people permission to go ahead and do, but you do want to make sure that the checks are in place and that people do
Yeah.
fully sort of understand what we're doing by sort of introducing these changes into society.
Well, and I think what's really wonderful about Reed's movies, because I heard about his previous film, which is also at Sundance, premiered at Sundance. He comes from a very political standpoint, and so he uses a very simple opening and then kind of gets you in, like kind of does the cut once he has you, he kind of like he really grabs you, and he's a very smart filmmaker, and I think that's also another thing. It's like, you see a life where he was given all these wonderful opportunities and he's able to
Yeah.
tell these stories. And then, flip side, uh, I don't know. It just like there's that what if thing. What if he didn't have all this access? What if he didn't want to tell these stories. Then it's just, I don't know, there's all of that kind of comes into play, and it's such a larger story in the process, and he does it so wonderfully, and he's also a nice guy. Like he's got humor, and that's the other thing about it. It's not, it sounds really dark, and there are certain parts of it that's quite dark, but he's quite I don't know, like there's something really lovely about him and the way he's dealing with it, and it's not this angry approach to telling this story, which I
No.
thought was a really lovely way to
And
kind
it's
of
a much more successful way of helping people to
yeah,
understand that position if you're not coming from a background of knowing the sort of area community of disabled people or
yeah.
what have you. It definitely does put you in the sort of people like his uh position.
Yeah. So it's a good film. I'm telling you. And so Katie, you liked it. Wow. We
I
start
did
off in a
like it. You
okay.
definitely have to set aside the right sort of time to watch it. It's
Yeah.
not a just to come home and switch off
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
but it's worth it.
It's showing now in selected cinemas in the US and currently has no distribution in the UK. But you guys love your docs, so I feel like it's gonna show up somewhere at
It'll
some
be on
point.
YouTube or something, won't it?
Yeah,
We'll find a
yeah. Or
way.
BBC. What was that? What's that? Like the BBC has that documentary series where they basically buy a lot of these movies, and so hopefully, fingers crossed,
Yeah.
that'll happen. Um, don't think this will be showing on the BBC anytime soon. But like it is a film, a little film called Superman, showing in every cinema, every screen and every cinema near you. It opened last weekend, and this film has already amassed 217 million globally, making it the best or biggest ever for a solo Superman film. It is also kickoff for a rebooted DC universe, which director James Gunn, who you might know from Guardians of the Galaxy fame, he's taken the role to spearhead this DCU into a new era. So for all you comic book nerds, you'll know that DC has been trying really, really hard to match the success of like Marvel, and their last batch of films, which were, I mean, I'm gonna say the word Zack Snyder. He had a vision and it was darker, and some people might appreciate that, but most of the audience did not, and it basically forced DC to like scrap all of his stuff and then bring in the big guns, literally, to rethink this whole DC world. And Superman is like the official launch into this new world. And now, if you haven't seen the film yet, here's a very quick breakdown. Superman is played by a very, very handsome David Corenswet, who I don't know if you remember, he was like a Ryan Murphy. He is a Ryan Murphy fave. He was like in Hollywood, and he was like doing, and he's a very handsome. He has got a classic like movie star look, like in that kind of
I feel like
1940s.
you could do the Superman hair, couldn't you, Stevie? You just need a
Oh,
little bit of sort of
a
like
little bit of
cream
maybe,
and
maybe. I don't
yeah.
know. I won't look like him though, but and the thing about this film is that it comes in the midst already, so there's no origin story. It's already in a situation where Superman is getting a little bit of backlash for a decision that he makes, and he has a girlfriend already in Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan, and Lex Luthor, this like very wealthy tech person, played by Nicholas Hoult. He's determined to bring him down and succeeding in the process. And then there's the crowd favorite Crypto and Dog, and there's a thing called the Justice Gang, played by a hodgepodge of heroes. And then this is basically the Superman that we have in front of us. So did you watch it? Did you?
Well, let me just be straight with you here. I have not seen this film, so but I am interested to hear your thoughts on it. What I do know, before having even spoken to you about the fact that we were going to talk about Superman, I ended up in a toy shop with my 4-year-old son, who found the most ugly, expensive, massive monster thing, who I now know is a kaiju monster that's in
Oh yeah.
Superman, is
Oh no.
it? So
Okay.
it's so instantly they've put out so much merch, and this kaiju monster, it comes with Superman, who gives him an uppercut, woof, and you press a button under his chin, chest cavity comes open and slime comes out. It is the most grotesque toy I've ever seen. But this is
What?
the stuff that is coming out with Superman at the moment.
I
We
mean,
had to buy it because it was almost so gross that I was like, oh, okay. And
that
now we like put, because the slime has had to go because it
yeah.
was causing too much mess everywhere. But he's got such a big chest cavity that you can like burst open his chest and have a like, oh look, there's some chocolate in
Oh,
there.
that's nice. Oh, you can do flowers, trying to change it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
So the Kaiju monster's in there, is he? He's a massive big like
There is that's so weird that that section exists as a toy. That
yeah.
is very strange. Yeah, so okay, here's the thing. Reviews glowing. Like it is one of those movies where people are just like, wow, we love.
Glowing in America, not so glowing over here.
Okay,
But
good.
then I also think there's an element of critics had already written the headline. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a flop? Before
Nice.
and they'd like decided that
Yeah.
they wanted to hate it.
All right. Well, now they have to eat their words because it is definitely not a flop. It is one of those. I mean, it was just, it was very strange because, I saw it 2 days after like a lot of the reviewers did, and like it was sometimes when I look at these reviews on X and Threads and stuff like that, I feel like people say positive things because they want to get quoted. Do you remember like when you used to live in LA, right? Like they would.
Needy people wanting to be quoted on
Well,
posters.
remember back in the day after screenings and stuff, there was a table and people would be like, "What's your quote?" Like, and it was just super awkward. You remember that? And the most people that were like running to these tables were like domestic, U.S. press who just like, and it's also always some online site who is just like, "Oh, I'm gonna shade," blah, blah, blah. And then now they don't even do that. They just wait for them to like put it on X and that kind of stuff, and then they like do a screenshot, and then that's another article in itself, and it's just.
But sadly, we live in the times where like having a sort of it was all right doesn't
Yeah.
get you noticed. So people
Yeah.
are out there determined to have extreme opinions.
I mean, the amount of, the glowing reviews, it was bonkers. And so I walked in going like, all right, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a good movie here. And here,
Superman, may I interject, is the squarest of all the superheroes, though,
yes,
is he not?
he is the most square of the
Yeah.
superheroes. And so they lean into that. He is square in this one. And, he's, and so, having this actor play him very kind of straight laced is kind of the way they've and his whole thing is I'm a Superman because I was told to do good, and so that's always been my.
Square.
There you go.
Really lost me already.
Yeah, um and so they're positives. We see a superhero who's like he's trying to figure out who he is, as most heroes do. And and then this is where like it gets kind of interesting. The country that he protects is oh, how do I say this without getting ourselves into trouble? It is of weaker background, and so he felt that if these bullies come in to try to take it over, then he should come in and interject and stop potential war or kind of attacks towards
Oh,
a.
geopolitics.
It's very geopolitics, and so that's there, and of course it's like this. It's not a real country, and all that
I
fun
think
stuff.
Trump's watching this going, this is me.
I know.
I shall
Yeah.
protect everyone.
He is Lex
Give me
Luthor
a
in this
cake.
case. Yeah, that no, he's not. He is not the Superman. He is the Lex Luthor in this case. And it also, what Lex Luthor does is he twists this kind of appreciation of this man who protects people and says, well, he's not born in the United States. He's an alien. He comes from somewhere else, and he must be bad. And so there's some.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
clever. I see what they did there.
yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It's a bold choice to start a film halfway through the story's already
Yeah,
happened, though, isn't
yeah.
it?
Well,
Weird.
and I think it gives you but it does allow you to because most of these movies you expect the origin story, which is like the spaceship lands and then the couple find him and then they raise him
Yeah.
to be like what we've seen that version many times, and so I think that was a really smart move to be like we don't need you to. Everybody knows this story, so let's just get into this. My only problem, and this is where I was like, is the movie's a lot. But the problem is I felt nothing for any of these characters. And
That's Superman for you. Have you ever felt anything for
that
any
is true.
Superman?
That is true. And so I was like, no one's got chemistry in this movie. Everybody's just shouting at each other or like doing whatever they think they should be for each other. And I'm just like, the only empathy I had for any of the characters was for the dog. And he's
I was going to
complete.
say the dog's meant to be the best bit in it, isn't
Yeah,
he?
the crypto's amazing. And it's completely CGI. So basically, I've just fallen into like, I love the cartoon, like that is the only
Oh no, you've fallen in love with some
fakey. Yeah,
pixels.
yeah, an AI like dog. Like that literally is just like
Oh,
pixels.
I thought
Yeah.
it would be a real dog. Oh,
It's based on James Gunn's real dog, but he's not trained well enough to actually be on camera, and so it's based on it. But yeah, that is the only thing I cared about, and so whatever happens to that dog, I was just like, wait, no, if they kill this dog, I'm gonna be really, really angry, and so that was where all of my emotional like kind of eggs were like kind of like in that basket. But this is the summer film to beat now. It's like it's a hit, and I guess it's a family hit. So basically, families can then take their kids to not watch Disney's Elio, and watch Superman instead. And so that seems to be the thing. I just don't
ugh.
connect with this film as much as I thought I would, and that's kind of where. But it's a hit. They've already shot Supergirl, and so there will be more super
Oh
characters. Wow,
no,
wow, you're
Supergirl.
not
Who's Supergirl? Is it anyone we
really.
know?
Yeah, it's I don't know her name now. Oh, did you watch Sirens?
Sirens, no.
With Megan Fahey and then the one who plays her sister, and she was also it's the girl who plays the sister, and she's a very good
Right.
Australian
Okay.
actress. She comes in and she's like, "What's up?" So she's a stroppy teenager, and that's the
Eh,
angle they're going. That could be fun.
well, at least
Um,
that's some personality. It's just
yeah,
Superman is so square.
yeah, he's a square uncle. But I don't know. I feel bad because really everybody loves this film. When I walked away, I'm like, okay, well, that was 2 hours in an air conditioned room, and so I'm like, I can go home now.
Imagine if they did actually put that on the poster, the real thoughts of people that came out. Well, that
Yeah,
was Stevie Wong. That was 2 hours of my life
yeah, no,
gone.
in an air conditioned room, that was good enough. And I think they gave me popcorn, so like, loved it, loved it. Please continue, please continue with all the free things. So
Oh,
Superman for me, it's okay,
I just
So
think they owe me £35 for a massive KG mod.
35 for that
I
for that.
know.
That is
It's
crazy.
just revolting. Its chest cavity goes, yeah. And like all of the insides fall out. Gross, but like brilliant
Imagine
for a 4-year-old.
Imagine what the other stuff that was rejected in the toy floor.
Yeah.
I'm like,
How grim was the other stuff?
well, I mean, that kaiju does not have a good ending. So basically, I guess that's as good as it gets. So well, there you go. That is wow. Maybe your son's gonna like Superman at some point. But what is the right age to show him a film like this? Is that kind of that is my question as a like.
More the attention span. He doesn't want to sit through
That's true.
beyond sort of 30 minutes, really.
That's true. Well, 30 minutes in 30-minute increments. This could be a mini series that's like waiting to happen.
There
So
is that.
there,
There is
there is
that.
that. All right. Not a mini series, and is showing this weekend at a screen near you is I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I guess you can call this a sequel because the film was made in 1997. There was a sequel in 1998, and now here we have this
So it's
version.
not the trilogy then? Or do you not
It's
count the second one then?
I the second one kind of counts, but all it does is introduce Brandy, the singer Brandy, as Jennifer Love Hewitt's like roommate, who then gets roped into all the mayhem that killer. But the first film had Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Felipe, and Freddie Prinze Jr. Basically, it was like it was a great cast of young, future like
Yeah.
basically stars in the late '90s, and it gave Love Hewitt the iconic. She became a scream queen in the process, and this kick-started her career into film, and then she quickly went back to TV afterwards. Anyway, so 30 years later, we have a new group of young stars led by three strong strong female leads. Chase Wonders, who I don't know if you've seen The Studio on Apple TV.
Oh yeah.
She's the she's not the assistant, but she's like an associate producer there, and she's like one of the few people with actually no, she doesn't have a sound mind, but she's the one that eats the burrito. Madeline Klein, who's on the Netflix series Outer Banks, which I don't watch, but it's a huge popular show on Netflix. And then Sarah Pigeon, who is going to play JFK Jr.'s wife, Carolyn Bessette, in this. There's been photos going on online about her dressed up as Carolyn Bessette in the already controversial Ryan Murphy's American Love Story. So I don't, but she's an up and coming. When I saw her in the cast, I was like, oh wow, this I've seen her, and she's kind of like the buzzy indie actress that's kind of doing really well stuff. Anyway, so they're part of a group who covered up a tragedy a previous year, and then now 1 year later, one of them gets a note, and it says, "I know what you did this summer. What? Bah, bah, bah." And then guess what? Murder
Ew.
ensues. Huh? Yeah. What?
How many summers have you been waiting for this? You have shown me so many bad horrors over the years.
I
This is your
know.
area. You
This
love a bit of a bad horror. You,
this
you
is
must have been just crying with joy when this
well.
came out.
You, there was always in the back of my head that they were going to do this one because obviously Scream had a bit of a reboot a couple of years ago when the director's Radio Silence came on, and they basically like not only did they introduce a whole new group of people that were going to get killed by Ghostface, but they also brought back a lot of the old or OGs, and using the same kind of like cookbook. This version by Jennifer Caton Robinson, who's weird. It's her previous stuff was like rom-coms and like lighthearted stuff. So I just think it's weird that like she took on and this is a pretty big franchise if it's like if you're gonna venture into this is like a big one to like hold on to, but I have a weird feeling it's because the script is really sharp and it's really funny,
Is
and
it?
yeah, I'd because young people mumble on, and so I was like, what did she say? And then so I'm almost curious to watch it again and when it, with subtitles, because I'm just like, I want to hear, because there's some really funny quirk, like isms that they kind of threw out there. And I'm like, I'm missing here. And everybody else in the room could.
Grandma, are you? I just need to watch it again with the subtitles.
I'd like to watch exactly. I'd like to read it with the subtitles. I've turned into that person. I'm old. But not only do they have this like pretty big head count and it's funny, they've also brought back OG characters like Love Hewitt's Julie James, what a name, who basically is back, and she's going to help this next generation to like stop their murders. Is it the best horror movie of the year? No, but it definitely delivers what it needs to with enough twists. And I think it's a really good way to kick off a new round of I know what you did last summer's films, because that they like if it's successful, they're gonna franchise this like
Without spoiling anything, what did you make of the quotation mark jaw-dropping ending?
oh
Because apparently it refers back to something that happened in the other series, if you know the other ones really well.
It was because it was actually because everybody knew that something was going to happen. No one moved once like the last scene happened, and we're like, all right, let's wait for the big surprise. And then the surprise happens, and everybody in the room clapped. And it was just again really smart move on this director's part to reference all of the films that have been made out there. That's all I can say, And so I'm like,
Ooh.
okay, cool, we're good, So that's what I mean. It's like it's a solid summer slasher movie. It's not like you're not gonna learn anything new. This is just it is what it is, But they've done it in a nicer way that like I would say they have a potential franchise again on their hands. So I'm quite excited for that. Quick look. We have another film called Brick, who I feel like this is not in your realm of stuff. When I said, hey, why don't you check out this movie on Netflix? Currently #1 in 36 countries. So
How is it #1 in 36 countries?
it is.
How?
Okay, so to those who don't know what Brick is, it's a standalone genre film in which a couple played by a real life couple, Matthias Schweighöfer,
That your best German, Stevie.
yeah, I know.
Say it with the conviction of a strong
Schweiver,
German.
Schweiver,
Yes.
and Ruby O'Fay, they're trapped in an apartment by a brick wall. Like literally, they wake up and all of a sudden, like their whole apartment's like trapped. They're in a brick wall building, and they cannot get out. And so the rest of the film is them trying to figure out how to get out of this building, and it's just like going from room to room and just fighting and dealing, and then they may bump into other people in the process. It's a simple premise. It's really low stakes, and the reviews have not been good at all. But it's
So
still
poorly executed. It's
it's
really bad. The
it's
best thing about this is it's 1 hour, 39 minutes.
yeah, I think they knew exactly what they had. They're like, we can't go beyond. In fact, I think it's 9 minutes too long. Like it should have been. But you have to remember credits were probably like five, so maybe it's like 1 hour and 30 something. It's okay. Listen, I have reason why I even chose this in the first place. I've been a fan of Mateus because back in the day when they used to fly journalists around and we get to stay in hotels, one time I'm in the hot tub with my friend Matilda from Germany, and she goes, "Oh, hey." And I look up, and this very tall, lanky, very cute German boy is there also in his swimming shorts. And he like comes over and he's like, "Hello." And I'm just like, who is this cute teapot? And then he joins us in this hot tub, and we end up having this, like, I don't know, 10-minute chat where I'm like, "Oh, you're an actor? That's so wonderful." Like,
Fancy
so
that in
I
Hollywood.
know, isn't that crazy? And then what are you doing here? And he's like, he's having meetings with Netflix. And I'm like, that's so wonderful. And then Matilda's like, oh, he's also a writer director, and he's just, the great things are happening for him. I'm like, oh, good luck. And then next thing I know, I think that meeting went very well for Netflix with Netflix because I mean he does so many things. He's on TV series. He's on movies. He's like I mean, and now he's got his own movie Brick where he's a star and so
Well, and is that how they justify the fact that it is completely age inappropriate casting? He's like in his 40s and he's the person that's meant to be sort of in a relationship with him, his late 20s, maybe at the
that's his real
most.
life wife. That's his real
Oh
wife.
no,
Yeah,
now
so
I've just slated him,
you
haven't I?
have totally just like
Get a
take it
girlfriend
back.
your own age,
Take
Matthias.
it, I'm gonna take it back,
Oh,
Katie.
okay, sorry.
No, I
It's
think
just at
Ruby.
very different ages.
I think Ruby looks younger than like she kind of comes across. But then again, I don't know. I didn't go into a deep dive of like the age difference. But then again, they're a cute couple, so we're good. But it is. I think it's funny. Anyway, that's how easy it is for me to like. If you're nice to me in a hot tub, then I will be more than happy to watch everything that you do in the future. That is how you get Stevie Wong to kind of like.
But that explains why you watched it. That doesn't explain why 36 countries around the world are
I
watching this
mean,
film.
he
It's
he
so
he
bad.
he could be a hot tub man and basically he sells hot tubs all over the world and just kind of like
Maybe. I
hangs
mean,
out and
that's
just
just
checks
like
in.
probably
That's like
it's an expensive way to do promo.
it's the best way to do promo. He looks like a prune now, but it's just like it is hilarious that like this man
Maybe
is.
that's what the age difference was.
Oh
It's
no,
just
yeah,
wrinkles from
water, too
the
much water. It's yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. So you hated this? Was this is this
it
something?
just was it just didn't make sense. The plot felt really clunky, and it just I mean, it's because there's bricks on the whole of this apartment block. They're trying to bury into other people's apartments to try and get down and out. And oh, it's just not done in a clever way, is it?
It's that like I think people love you know how there was a movie called Escape Room and like it became like they made two movies out of it and all that and so
But
people
it's worse than that, though, isn't
yeah,
it?
oh
It's
for
a
sure
poor
for sure.
man's escape room.
Yeah, Escape Room at least is fun because you're trying to like figure out like what the traps are in the room, but this is not that at all. Literally is them like, okay, we have an axe, let's go, and then yeah, the stakes are very low. It is not. It is what it is, and I mean, 90 minutes later, it was just I watched on a Saturday night. I had a bowl of pasta, and I was just like, all right, let's watch this. And so that was kind of why I didn't hate it, and maybe this is why it's number one in 36 countries because everybody's eating
People are
that.
desperate for something to watch. Yeah.
It's hot, and they're just kind of like, let's just stay in, and like this is the best spag bowl like kind of movie on a Saturday night. I don't know. It's just it is.
It's hot. Nobody's got any money to go
Yeah,
out and buy a
yeah.
ticket to Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Well, somebody does because there's some people
Oh,
who's
yeah.
yeah, that's true. Um, Okay, so now we're gonna go into TV. So that was the last of the movies, and now we're going into television. And I've got a really strange list because now when I look at and like you said, there's like a huge body count in these series. But it also is a weird trend that I was like, no, I've been noticing too, is that I feel like certain shows are the ones that are getting greenlit now, and things that are a little bit more original, we don't get to see anymore. And so I don't know if this is if I've tapped into a trend that basically for the next year, I'm only going to be talking about shows like this, and then therefore like I don't know, we'll miss the good old days when, I don't know, like we wanted something a little bit different. I mean, thank goodness the first show that we're talking about is a little bit different. And I'm really curious what you think about it. It's basically Too Much, showing now on Netflix. I feel it's the return to Lena Dunham in top form after her mega success of the 2012 series Girls. Lena tried her hand at trying to do other shows and even feature films as a director, and now she also does stuff as an actor for hire. But this is kind of the official return for Dunham as she brings us her version of a rom-com, and it's loosely based on her own personal story about an American woman who meets a musician in the UK and then falls in love and then whatever. But basically, in this case, it's played by the excellent Megan Salter, who is in Hacks. She plays the assistant now, like partner of the management company. She moves to London for a fresh start after her New York life implodes. And on her first night, she meets a musician named Felix, played by my current fake husband, Will Sharp, who is
Oh.
the writer director in his own right, and he was also in White Lotus, if you recognize him. And comedy, heartbreak, and good old fashioned love ensues. And so yeah, I mean, Girls was always about a bunch of like narcissists and stuff. So in a weird way, Too Much, I thought that's what we were walking into. But this show is super genuine and a little bit helpful, and it's just I don't know. I was like super charmed by this series, and I don't know. Maybe this is what I needed. Once I decided I press play, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna binge this one. It's gonna happen. So that's my takeaway. I don't know what you thought of this series.
It is cut and paste Lena Dunham, isn't it? But I feel like ever since Girls, she has struggled to match Girls, and you can't say that this matches Girls.
No,
Girls
no.
was like this sort of meaningful voice of a generation, wasn't it? It was all about
No,
narcissism
it's a
and
meaningful voice of a generation.
oh yeah, true. But I mean, there's a few funny lines in this, and obviously, I would always watch Will Sharp in anything he does because he is just tremendous. But it just didn't feel good enough. I don't know. I think
Ooh.
I'd watch it if there was nothing else on, but it wasn't as good as Girls. You can't say it's as good as
No, it's
Girls.
it, and I think the comparison is you almost can't because it's a whole different approach. I mean, this is her version of what a rom-com should like it looks like for herself, and so there's she there's all so many sleeping and but she's one of those girls that just walks around with almost like her head in the sky, and she wears crazy clothes, pilgrim lady clothes, and she's a quirky American girl, and I don't know, I think I just love Megan Salter anyway. Like I'll watch
Yeah.
her do anything. And so just having like 10 episodes of her do anything is quite lovely. And I think what is surprising is she's actually a really good actress. There's some pretty interesting stuff like if you get further into the series about her ex-boyfriend and her, and that's a really serious kind of stuff going on. But it just I don't know. It made me wistful towards like this is like a nice rom-com for me, and sometimes you watch these romantic comedies and you're like, "Ugh, this is the formula doesn't work." But I feel like Lena's trying something different here, and again, it just reminded me. I'm like, oh, I used to have this like romance with the UK, and it always felt like,
Yeah, the reality.
I know the reality is different, but like it's just like, oh, this kind of reminded me of like, oh, that feeling where like I'm gonna go to the UK, I'm gonna meet a British guy, and they're like they're so cold, but deep down inside they're just wonderful, beautiful human beings. And then I'm like, should I move to the UK now because the US feels like a crazy place? And then do Americans talk too much about our feelings? Are we are we too much like that? that is kind of my takeaway from this. And I don't know, maybe you'll find me living next door to you. And I'll be like, hello, because of this show, I'm now moving to the United Kingdom.
I
So
can't believe this has sold you on moving to the UK, though. It does paint
stakes.
quite an accurate picture of like the nights out in the UK with dreadful pubs with toilets that are awful. And
Um, yeah, that sounds romantic to me. I don't know. It just if I can come back with a Will Sharp, then that's all I care about. That is that
okay.
some kind of musician who
Will
doesn't.
Sharp
Yeah,
can sing. Did we know Will Sharp can sing before this as well?
I mean, the man can do anything. So yes,
Let's just assume he can do
yeah, of
everything. He's probably
course.
very good at cooking and he can ride a
all
horse.
all of that stuff. I mean, just some of the lines that she writes is so like fantasy about like what a man should say to a woman, and it's just like it is. Ooh, you just kind of watching. You're like, I'm swooning. I'm low key like it is. This sweat is not from the heat; is from a different kind of like I'm fanning myself from like the wonderful things that come out of this man. So I don't know. I've always liked Lena Dunham from day one. Even I watched Tiny Apartments when she was just doing indie films and stuff. So um.
I like it. It's just saddening that it's not as good as Girls was. That's my only thing.
All right.
I've got
Well,
to stop comparing it to Girls, comparing everything she does to Girls.
I feel like if you watch it to the end, you might have a different perspective. If it's based on the
Have you
pilot
have you
alone.
done a classic Stevie and watched all of these already then?
Oh yeah, totally. It was a. I'm gonna start. Oh, it's done. Sun's out, like it just was one of those things. I'm like, okay, well that just happened. And so uh, there's a couple of these shows that we're talking about today that I also I mean, and not for the same reason. Next show that we're talking about is called Dexter Resurrection. It's showing now on Showtime, also on Paramount Plus globally. And basically, the serial killer was last left for dead in the reboot Dexter Original Sin, shot by his own son. Gasp! But since that limited series was so popular, they basically forced showrunner Clyde Phillips to do some creative writing, and look, he is risen, he's resurrected. And it's set 28 weeks after his shooting. And it, I don't know if you ever saw like the son. He's basically like all whenever they do close-ups of him, his eyes are like always like doe-eyed and it's like wet, and he always looks like he's on the verge of crying when he listens to other people. I think he just has a really dry eye, and so his eyes kind of overcompensate with tears. Anyway, so not only does Resurrection literally bring back old faces in surprising ways, but also introduces a whole new twisted group that exists in New York, and they roam freely of serial killers that may be attached to the new characters played by Peter Dinklage, Uma Thurman,
Good
and
cameos. Yeah.
it is a strong cast. I mean, like it is surprising who agreed to do this
Yeah.
series. And I've seen 4 episodes. I've only shown you. I think they have 2 out at the moment. Um, I'm weirdly addicted to this. Like this is not.
Same for me. I kind of thought I can't really be bothered with this. I don't need any more Dexter in my life. But
Yeah,
actually, I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, do you know what? I think I'll get into this again. It's no spoiler to say that he's in a coma when we see him at
yeah.
first, isn't it? But that in itself, we get to see cameos from all the brilliant people that he's ever known over the series. John Lithgow's there and all the other people that
Got
he's
them
had
all
various sort
back.
of fallouts with.
It's so crazy that like they all agreed to just show up for,
Yeah.
and just kind of be in his dreams or whatever that thing is. And it's just and the hits keep on coming. I mean, there's so many other characters that show up from his past that is kind of fascinating. The flip
It's
side
a
is
pantomime, though, isn't it? It's a pantomime of serial
yeah,
killers.
it
So
is. It
it's
is.
so over the top. You can't in any way think, oh, gritty realism here.
Oh,
It's like, oh, it's going to be even sillier
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
is it?
And I think that's why the show's good because it doesn't take itself seriously. They've created like this lore, and so they just have to like I Know What You Did Last Summer. They just know what people want to see, and then so basically like just bring them all back, and then flip
Yeah.
side, there is this sub story. Well, it's actually the plot number 2. Basically, the son is working in a hotel, and he's just trying to live his life, but
He
his
doesn't want to be like his dad.
He doesn't want to be daddy's boy, and
No.
that's why he shot him in the first place. And so he wants to be free. He wants to be free, and as a son of Dexter, you're never free from murder. And
No.
so it is just so there's another storyline going on there. I don't know. I think it's played really nicely. There's so many different play angles to
Yeah.
come into this series,
But
and
also, I think it's nice having the son because it takes it away from just being bored with it just being Dexter. It's
yeah.
nice having someone that's completely different to invest in.
And add to the fact that it's New York, where basically everybody lives anonymously, and so to have like these really creepy
Is
people.
this happening in the apartment next to you, do you think,
Yeah,
Stephen?
that's what the screamings I keep on hearing is. But it's just, but you know, where Harrison works, it's actually blocks away from me. So
Oh,
yeah, I was like, I was obviously wasn't around when they were shooting it, but like, it's just fascinating that this is, I recognize this New York that they're kind of murdering in and stuff, and I'm just like, wow, I live in a hot spot of just
that is the
crazy.
one thing that I do miss, though, that it being lovely and sunny in Miami. Miami used to be the best thing about the
Yeah,
original Dexter,
yeah,
didn't
that's
it?
true. They've made New York. I don't know. New York looks pretty good. It's like a
All
city.
right.
Yeah, it's all right. You
Yeah.
know, dirty and gritty, but like, yeah, murder. So from that show, which I love the fact that both like I've
Yeah.
hooked you into a new series. Here's another one, also dealing with murder, but in a totally different way. It's called Bookish. It's a series that is getting its first screening this week in the UK through You and Alibi, which I guess is a channel.
It is a channel. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
It's
go. Yeah.
yeah, a smaller one, but
Well, yeah,
still good.
and it's going to be show later this year in PBS in the US. So it is definitely going for a more cozy sweater crime fan loving,
Sunday
and
night, sort
Sunday
of
night. Yeah, and I
cup of
think
tea and a bit of cake.
yeah, bit of cake. Created by writer actor Mark Gatiss, who you might know was behind the massive Sherlock reboot that kind of introduced Benedict Cumberbatch to the world. Like it was just like all of that kind of, he's got that power. And he was one of the OG members of the League of Gentlemen. So he's a very funny, smart writer. And I guess he was sick of dealing with other people's IPs and just decided to like create his own one. And so we are brought into the world of Gabriel Book, who runs a bookshop, Bookish, get it? Who just so happens to solve crimes during post-war 1946, where much of London is still kind of rebuilding. And along for these cases are his wife Trotty, which is such a British name. Polly Walker is his wife, and there's a new shop worker named Jack, cutie Connor Finch. There's a curious orphan Nora Bukit Kamur, and an Inspector Bliss, who's played by theater actor Elliot Levy. I mean, these are faces that you kind of recognize as like
You
character.
recognize them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I did not know these people's names. And every case is 2 episodes, and already a second season has been commissioned. So, cozy crime. It is big
Crazy crime.
cozy
There's
crime.
things that are different about this one, though, aren't they? You find out that it's a lavender marriage, as they call it, don't they? So he's actually gay, and they're just best friends.
Yes.
Um, but it does very much feel, don't we think, that Mark Gatiss wrote Sherlock and realised that he desperately wanted to be the main character in a detective thing. So it's like, oh, I'll find my
Yeah.
own one then.
I'll make my own, and then like has a lot of hair. Like I don't know if you've seen photos of Mark in real life. He's a man with a receding hairline of sorts, and so in this series he's got more hair, and so like that, like
Why
that is
not?
why not? Hey, he's a star. He can do anything he wants to, and it is. I mean, I watched it. It is, and I understand why there's a market for this, and I have a weird feeling like this might be low key popular, and will have. Like if you look at the shelves of bookstores in the UK, even I was just, like it's all crime stuff, and
That's
it's all,
flooded with crime
yeah,
everywhere, isn't it? So it is different because it's this period one. I just, yeah, I don't know if it's that sort of compelling enough that I can be bothered
yeah.
to sit with it.
But but I will understand if this becomes a huge hit. Like I totally will understand why. Like it's not like there is a total world right now. First of all, crime is popular, and women love reading crime stories. It turns out, and like because the stakes are super low. this is probably like the best kind of television for them, and it's like tea, like you can sip your tea while this kind
Yeah.
of like plays out. So I it's a phenomenon that like I was never a part of, but maybe I'm slowly like
Sliding towards. Oh
sliding
no,
towards.
Stevie.
Yeah. I mean, it's like suburbs murder. Like kind of as long as it's not like. Remember, we used to make us watch these. Not you, but like there was always that show that was like, oh, it's set in a wet, a body's found in a
Countryside.
countryside wet forest, and like they only walk around in these like long coats, and there's just it's like the woman always has her hair tied back, and the guy like I don't know, just the whole thing was I don't need that. I like this because it feels, I don't know, like, yeah, it
The
just feels
period element of it
the
makes it
period
a bit
ele-
more interesting.
and as you kind of look at the cast of guest stars who come on to this show,
Great
he's
names. Yeah.
great names. So I have a weird feeling this might be a really big hit. So that maybe not for us, but definitely for someone who's into this type of, if you like British cozy tea crime, like this is probably this is your jam.
Are you creating a new genre of
I'd
tea
like to
crime?
tea crime, tea sipping cozy sweater tea. I don't know what I
Not too crimey though,
not
or
no
it put me
no
off my
no.
tea.
That would yeah. You don't want to be like whoa, like just kind of like like you don't need any of that. Another crime story is called Code of Silence, which actually aired in the UK back in May on ITV
Yeah.
and is now showing on Britbox next week. And it stars Rose Ayling Ellis as a deaf woman, Allison, who gets drawn into a police investigation of a crime syndicate because she's able to like read lips. Now I know Rose because I watched Strictly Come Dancing, and that was the first time that I saw her. And did she win?
She'd
She
been in
was the,
one of our big soaps, EastEnders, over here before
yeah.
that. So she was an actress before people knew her as a brilliant dancer on that reality show. But
I'm,
God, she was great on Strictly. She's
she was
such a good dancer.
she's a really good dancer, and that really kickstarted her new career, which apparently she's just on the rise, like just really getting like she's got some documentary series, and
Yeah.
then I read somewhere that
But she's the
did,
executive producer of this as well. So it's really interesting to sort of see how she clearly wanted to sort of feed in. So the sort of element of deafness that is
yeah.
shown in this was really accurate.
And I think that's what kind of makes this limited series, like pretty interesting. I mean, like the character, uh, as one does, oversteps the boundaries that have been given to her, and then she basically, like, no spoilers, she gets a job at a pub, and she befriends this gang's latest recruit, Liam, played by Kieran Moore, and it's just things
The
go.
police want her access because she can lip read. So she's
And
trying to
she
like work
can
out
lip
what this
read.
gang are doing.
And they do this really interesting thing where like she looks at the lips and then like the words aren't completely formed yet. And then slowly she like through her lip reading skills, it kind of becomes sentences and stuff. And we as an audience get to also see that it like kind of show up for us. And so that's like a smart way to show what it's like to be a deaf person to lip read. And so I quite like this angle, to be able to have to solve a crime through silence, like kind of like watching through everything through her eyes is fascinating. And I mean, Kieran Moore's
She's
not.
very watchable as an actress as well, though.
Oh,
Isn't
she's
she?
a
She's
really good
brilliant
actress. Yeah, she's a really good actress. And then the guy who plays the Liam, Kieran, he's quite handsome too. And so he's a very I'm just it's
Objectifying the
I
male
know,
lead.
just all the men in this episode. The only reason why is because I want to date them. And so, but this is not Happy Valley, which I feel is like still the gold standard of
Oh
what
yeah,
crime series
yeah.
are. But it's tense enough, and I may have watched this in a binge, and I think there's talk about potentially a season two because the show did really well. And
I
it's
like the concept. I thought the sort of crime gang
oh
element of it wasn't particularly well done, though. I didn't like
it's
that bit.
it's I don't even want to spoil what the crime that they're doing, but it is lame. Oh my God, it is
Yeah.
lame. And you're just kind of watching, going like, really? This is where all of like you guys spent so
They're
much.
spending this much money, the police putting
Yeah,
this effort into
yeah.
cracking this crime.
This is where your police this is where they're spending all of their time and effort into a very lame crime that they're trying to. It's yeah. By the time we get to the crime itself, you're like, okay, whatever. But like, she's already drawn me in. I wanted to see how this played out because again, I like
Yeah,
her more than enough to kind of want to
stick with
see
it.
it. Do with it. She's developing a comedy about being a woman dating in London as a deaf person, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, I totally watched that. So
Yeah.
I think Rose is definitely she's got so much like star potential and stuff, and like I just think she's gonna blow up sooner than later, and I
Yeah.
just and she's already and she's so smart. She'll exec if no one's gonna write these stories, she will do it herself, like executive producer herself. And so this is Code of Silence is the it's en route to like her wonderful, global success. So I just yeah, I think that's the best way to it's all right.
It also does say a lot about the importance of having voices from different communities in the like production process as well, doesn't it? Because unless you have people that are from these backgrounds writing these stories and thinking of these ideas, it's just a side of life that just isn't shown. And it is like it's so interesting to see just how she thinks. You get to sort of see the thought process because it rather than just sort of subtitles, it is sort of fuzzed out words that are sort of interpreted then in her brain, and you kind of can feel what it's like not to hear. It's very clever.
And I think again, we started with life after about seeing life through disabled people, and so here we have a series literally centered around somebody with a disability, but like it is her superpower, and
Yeah.
it's really wonderful, and so I agree with you. There should, I mean, if only things are not being commissioned in the United States these days because of a certain person that runs our country right now. And so like I think as Americans, we're not going to be able to see more of these stories moving forward, at least for a period of time, hopefully. And then maybe we'll have, so it's up to shows like this that we can kind of maybe get some of that kind of different perspective and open our eyes to things and ears, if you will. And it is just, yeah, even though it seems like a low key, it's a crime series. I think there's a lot of people who do watch it. It might be kind of, it's good for them, like this is kind of a really nice way to see something like a disability, but in a different light through crime or whatever. And I'm all for like original ideas or at least original perspectives, because we are not going to be able to see more of this moving forward, and that bums me out a little bit actually. So that's kind of the
But also when the
reality.
market is flooded with crime stories and things like
Yeah.
that, you do need something to stand out, don't you?
Yeah,
And at
I
least
agree. I
this
agree.
does
That's
stand out.
true. So good on Code of Silence. It's fine. Again, we're um, here's another fine series. Very quickly, Ballard, showing now on Prime Video. It's a spin-off of a crime series called Bosch. And Renee Ballard is played by Maggie Q, who, after blowing the whistle on a popular cop, she's sent down to the basement to solve cold cases for the LAPD. Basically, they just want her to quit, but she won't because Ballard is smart and she will solve cold case crimes. Now, if this plot of a difficult cop gets sent to the basement and then puts together like a ragtag group of people to solve cold cases sounds a
How
little
many
bit.
times have we had this?
We've had this. I mean, most recently, Department Q on Netflix literally is that same plot line. It turns out everybody has this idea these days.
It's
But
not it's not even an idea, is it?
it's like a
Cold
thing.
cases.
Cold cases. Let's solve
Yeah.
it, but in the basement, only the basement. And
Always the basement.
always the basement. But this show has a much more American crime vibe. It feels like a procedural, like a TV show. This doesn't feel like some prestige like miniseries, and this feels like a American TV show, which Prime is commissioning more and more of these now. I think with the success of like Jack Reacher and stuff like that, they're really kind of leaning into these shows that look like it used to be on a weekly thing on our network television screens. And so it has that feel, but somewhere in there, it's actually not a bad show. Like I'm like, okay, this is something I'm watch. I like Maggie Q. I feel like she's one of those actresses that is, she's kind of under, like, people don't really she's in so many series, but she just hasn't really had this chance to shine. And just having her in this role, it's nice to see her back. And so whenever she's on my screen, I'm more than happy to like check it out. And that's what happened. But it turns out I like the show now. So will I watch? Am I going to binge this? Not really. I'm just gonna watch it when it's when it's there in front
When
of
you're
me.
desperate.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still haven't finished Department Q, so I don't need any more cold
Oh yeah,
cases
there
in
you
my
go. Well,
life.
maybe when you're done with Q, you can come to Ballard. But it sounds like you don't like Ballard at all. You've got that. Your face is saying
No.
me, yeah. What's wrong with it?
But I don't understand why I've liked Dexter so much really this week. Maybe it just
Yeah,
took me back to those days when the first seasons came out of Dexter. But
yeah.
yeah, there's some good shows in this week. Well done, Stevie. You picked
Thank
some
you.
good
But
ones.
it's all crime. Basically, it's like everybody just wants crime,
Are you
crime. I
okay?
don't know. I think this is what we're looking at. That's out there at the moment. Next month we've got some interesting things like Wednesday and like whatever. But like right now, it is crime. July is crime month, it seems, and it's just we are tapping into this world. I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know.
But it's not as desperate as the podcast we did years ago, where one week we had nothing on but shark shark shows. At
Oh,
least it's not
that's
shark shows. Remember that one? That
we
was
did do
fun.
a Shark Week one. That is,
Yeah, we
I mean,
did.
what can we say about sharks? Nothing. Sharks. There we go.
Some sharks. Bit
Let's stretch this
scary,
out
aren't
right now. Yeah, there you go. So there you have it. Katie,
Sleep well. I won't be deeply disturbed by the
I know you
content
have
that
no
you
no
send me.
nightmares for both of us. Thank you so much for joining me
Ah,
on this
love
like
you as always.
pod journey. I mean, when was the last time you had to watch so much stuff? Like that
In a
is,
while.
it's been a while,
I'll
right?
do it for you though, Stevie. I'll do it for
You
you.
I hope you come back. I hope I didn't scare you off and then you'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to answer his
You didn't
call.
scare me off. Like the programs you made me watch.
I know it
Might
scared
have,
you off. Yeah,
but
I know. It's all about no. Next time, if I have a better curated show of like more, I don't know, something more
can I
comedy,
come
maybe
back when
more,
there's like
yeah,
comedy, a bit of
lighthearted, but not,
yeah.
yeah, not Americans moving to the UK, maybe some other kind of type of comedy stuff. Then yeah,
No,
I'll
it's
do.
good. You've sorted me out. I've now got like two or three series that I need to finish having done that. Dexter's top of my list though.
Thank you for coming on the show, and I look forward to talking to you, maybe in 2 months' time, and then bring you on to like talk more about television and movies. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.